We are live and filling in for Mark, I guess you could say tonight, is Della Dream. Mark is busy coaching people. He didn't all of a sudden like actually do the thing he always talks about and just become trans. So that's actually
Hey.
not Mark. Hi, so Della, can you introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. My name is Della Temple. I go by Della Dream. Dream is my middle name. It's not just some gay alter ego. And I am an online content creator, mostly about nutrition and stuff like that, because I healed like a really bad autoimmune disease where I was basically dying. I didn't get the diagnosis that I was dying, but I had no quality of life whatsoever and kind of went on a health journey. And so people started following me.
Okay. So we're going to talk about today, pretty much anything from fitness, politics, that sort of thing. But talk to me about like the journey you're on, the health journey you're on. Like what was going on and how did you fix it?
So I've noticed little things my whole life, so it's definitely been there, like creeping up on me. But
Right.
the absolute worst that it got was probably like 2017, 2020, and it got to where I basically had also, I mean, I had terrible psychological problems. I thought I was going schizophrenic. I thought people were plotting against me. When I would look at social media and see that my friends were looking at my story, I literally would like make up scenarios in my head that they were plotting against me. I was living in Hollywood
Wow.
at the time, and I would drive like 20 minutes to a hike somewhere, and I would look around and see people going on the hike. It's hard to even explain now because I'm sane, but I would see people going on the hike, and I would think like they're gonna judge me. I can't be here, and I would get in the car and I'd go back home. I would pace back if I had to have any social interaction whatsoever. I would pace back and forth, like just for instance, ordering Postmates. I knew that at the time there wasn't like a no person drop off, like right before COVID. So I would pace back and forth in my room, and I would practice what I was going to say to my Postmate 30 times, back and forth, back and forth. Just one tiny interaction with a human was that like jarring to me.
Wow.
Physical health, horrible. I mean, I was on Xanax to calm me down. I was on antidepressants. I was on a heavy dose of like allergy. What is the antihistamines to like knock me out at night? I was on propranolol for my heart beating on my chest all the time. I was on Adderall to keep me awake. And then also like physical ailments. I had a lot of the symptoms of MS, but I didn't end up getting to the point where I was diagnosed with a brain lesion. I don't know if I had one or not, but basically I had almost every symptom of MS other than delayed and slurred speech. I had burning limbs. I couldn't put my arm out in front of me like this without it. It was like this. It was like I had fucking Parkinson's all the time, and it just shooting pains on my arms. It felt like all of my limbs were burning off all the time. My arms and my legs, all my joints would crack all the time. If I just walked up to the sink and spit, blood would come out, like bleeding gums, but like not even when I was brushing my teeth, like just inflamed all the time. I had narcolepsy, but I wasn't diagnosed narcoleptic. I couldn't wake up. I would sleep 22 hours a day, and I was able to be awake for about 2 hours to feed myself, feed my dogs, and go back to sleep. That was the only amount of energy that I had, and it went on for years. There was many more. I used to get I had shooting pains in my jaw, like terrible TMJ, and it was to the point where it would shoot down my neck and it would make me vomit, just because of like the pain and the nausea of it all. The list goes on and on and on. I was in very bad shape. I couldn't. I'm 33 now, and I couldn't kneel down just from standing position, like to get to my dog. I couldn't kneel down at 30 years old. And I kept going to these doctors, and they never asked me one single time, what I was putting in my mouth. And I probably went to, I don't know, 15 doctors. They never said, what's your diet? What do you do? Da, da, da. They would just take my blood and go, things seem normal. And then they would send me out the fucking door.
So it's the one thing you mentioned to me, and my background, just so I mean, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with content, I was a healthcare executive for quite a while. Now I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I mean, Mark and I do basically health for a living, and the amount of research I've done probably since I've left healthcare dwarfs what I did in healthcare because I'm not a fan of the healthcare industry. I'm not a fan of the healthcare industry for like shit you went through. Acute, like if I break my arm, I'm going there right now. But for the you're going through, I found this amazing. You obviously had some sort of autoimmune disease going on, or it could have even been metabolic, frankly. But it's like I have this theory that doctors are not qualified to treat metabolic disorder. Like most doctors are actually not qualified to treat it because they don't teach anything about it. That's why they didn't ask you about it, is because they don't know anything about nutrition, right?
Yeah.
The one thing you pointed out though that I found fucking wild, right? So they had you on Adderall, antidepressants, and what else? And you're on antihistamines to help you sleep. And something else
Antihistamines,
like,
sleep, propanolol, and Xanax.
okay, so all of those things are either contra or complement. You know what I mean? Like, what's wild is they have you on Adderall while also realizing that like you have problems like sleeping and shit. And also Adderall is very closely linked to like, I mean, Adderall's meth. You know what I mean? Like I have Mark and I used to call this podcast the ADHD hour because we both have raging ADHD, like just raging ADHD, right? And I've never been medicated, neither has he, and I'm very thankful for it, because like I don't know too many people that like lead long, happy, healthy lives on Adderall.
I don't either. I'm very against Adderall. At the time, I will say, and I think almost everybody that's on it is they could probably completely change their own brain through diet, honestly. And wouldn't have to be on it. I think that it's a cop out. I think it's meth. I think it makes people weird. I will say at the time when I was when I had this horrible narcolepsy, it eventually did grant me, now it wasn't in the right way, but it did grant me the ability to stay awake for about 3 hours a day as opposed to 2 hours. So that's what gave me the energy to actually start doing research. So I at least have Adderall to attribute to, the couple of hours of research that I could do in a day just to stay awake and then finally get myself healthy where doctors failed me.
So they gave you Adderall. Are you diagnosed with ADHD, or did they give you Adderall just to keep you awake, just to stay awake?
I was diagnosed in high school, but who wasn't diagnosed in high school? I don't even know what that means anymore. I mean, I get told that I have ADHD all the time. I'm like, why is it? Because I think about a lot of stuff at the same time. I don't know. I mean,
Mark and I, we talk about that a lot too. Like, there's a very large difference between an ADHD mind and a regular mind, if you ask me. Like, and I do think that like a lot of people that have gotten diagnosed in the last, like, especially 20 or 30 years, is one, they make money from the more diagnosis they make, the more money they make. But also, I mean, most kids, when they get diagnosed, the initiating person is a teacher. Like it's not even a doctor. Like the initiating person is like, well, they're hyper, they need to be put on something. Like it's almost like the teacher writes the prescription, right? But it's also like these are the same teachers that give these kids candy for doing good after they've already drank a big glass of orange juice, had cereal with whole milk and a candy bar. Of course they're going to be hyper. They've just had a bunch of caffeine because chocolate has caffeine in it, and then they've also had a ton of sugar, right? So I think that most of these people are absolutely not really, like, they're not truly ADHD, right? Because like I'll talk, our brains just work a little different, like it's just, like, and somebody in the chat obviously just said you can tell the doctor you have ADHD and I'll give it to you. Of course. I mean, that's literally how it works. But so what did you do, like, to help yourself survive? Like, what was the first steps?
So I got them to put me on Adderall so that I could stay awake. And honestly, I think at the time I just said, I do have ADHD, but I told them at the time, like, it was not like I was studying anything where I actually needed to focus. I needed to be awake more than 1 hour a day. I mean, it was years of my life I spent sleeping. I was like a bear in hibernation. It was absolutely just tragic. I even thinking back on the amount of time that I wasted just being asleep. And I just couldn't fucking wake up. I would drive somewhere. If it was over 15 minutes away, I had to pull over on the side of the road to sleep. Like, it was that fucking insane. So I got the Adderall, and that garnered me the ability to stay awake for about 2 hours a day rather than 3. So I started doing research on the internet. The first person's podcast that I saw was Mikhaila Peterson, and it's now been stripped from the internet for whatever reason, but it was Mikhaila Peterson. It was called Carnivore Anecdotes. and she interviewed this woman named Emily Pinton, who cured her MS with carnivore. And Emily, it was so bad that she had delayed and slurred speech, and she at 40 years old had to move back in with her parents because she couldn't even get around. She walked with a cane, she couldn't speak, she had the brain lesion and everything like that. She started eating low quality meat in the hospital because her brother told her to. And then she switched on when she got out of the hospital off the low quality meat. She started eating raw cubes of beef out of her refrigerator. And then that was her whole entire diet. She cured. She's since gone to the doctor, gotten the brain lesion scan, and the brain lesion is gone. And people are like, I mean, she's shown it. I've seen it with my own fucking eyes, and people are like, that's not true. Anyway, I saw that, and almost every single thing she said, other than the delayed and slurred speech, was like she was speaking my story. And I thought, I'm gonna have to do this. So I got on YouTube, and I went to Dr. Sean Baker's YouTube because they cited him in the podcast. And he had his, at the time it was called the Rivero podcast. Now I think it's called the Dr. Sean Baker podcast. But he had the whole company Rivero, where he's treating people just like medical, and he's also a doctor. He's treating people.
Yeah, medical. He's a friend of ours. We've had him on. He's amazing.
I fucking love him. I mean, his stuff, it truly changed my life. Like some of these people, they really, I owe them my life, truly. And I watched I watched probably whenever I was able to stay awake enough, just laid on my back on my couch, and I watched maybe 9-10 hours a day just doing research and stuff of like all these people healing these different things. And I ordered a bunch of meat, and I did what Emily did, and I tried to incorporate a lot of it raw because they say that I'm not a proponent of only eating raw meat. I probably just wouldn't be able to do that because I'm fatty and I like the taste of food, but I do think that it's the most nutrient dense way that you can eat it. So I, cut up the raw cubes of beef and I put it there just like it was medicine, and I would just swallow it. At first, even whenever I was grossed out by it, I would just swallow the little tiny cubes of it. Especially the fat is especially good for your brain. And I could tell that there was from the studies that I had done, from the research that I had done, that there was that I had a lot of inflammation, especially in my brain. And I kept reading about how the animal fat specifically is really, really good for your brain, and how it helps all these kids with ADHD and stuff like that. And so I'm like, I need to get as much fat in as possible. But if you go from the standard American diet, or mine was actually, so people are like, oh, if you go from a really shitty diet to carnivore, of course you're going to feel good. No, I didn't have a really shitty diet. That's the difference of me. Yeah. And some of these people don't. I was eating what people deem to be health foods. I was eating berry bowls and all that kind of shit that they tell you to eat. And I was still dying because I didn't know about things like seed oils and stuff like that are fucking poison. Yeah. And so I started eating those, and I was eating I was specifically eating the animal fat frozen because it was, it's easier for your body to digest. Because if you go from the standard American diet or eating heavily vegetables to eating a whole bunch of cooked animal fat, you're going to shit your pants. So I just started eating cubes of frozen animal fat and stuff like that. And I went strict straight away. And in 2.5 weeks, I had a 75% symptom drop off. I mean, I had them all written out, and I just went check, 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 check. And after that, it was another one dropped off, and then I was eventually completely better. I'm not on a single lick of medication anymore. I have bountiful energy, and I did strict carnivore for 2 years, and now just as a social, because of social situations and stuff like that, it's difficult to adhere to that absolutely constantly. So I'll always eat 90% meat, but I eat about 10% other stuff as well.
That's about me. That's about what I eat too. I look at it calorie wise because it depends. About 90% of my calories are probably from whole, basically meats, and literally the occasional protein powder for I make a protein pudding every night. But also, I love veggies. We homestead, so whatever the wife grows in the garden, I'm eating. But it's a super rare occasion. Maybe once a week, and if one small item at portion, I'll have something ultra processed just for pleasure. And even when we go out, I tend not to do that because when you realize how bad it is for you, you start the inflammation you were describing is technically called neuroinflammation, and basically how it works is that either through being obese and or having just like constant systemic inflammation, which does sound like you had, it goes through the brain blood barrier and causes what's called neuroinflammation. Like systemic inflammation becomes neuroinflammation. That's why fat people sound irrational. You know what I mean? Like most fat people in our society sound completely irrational, and that's why, is because they are, right? But I just think it's also this weird thing of how health has become so politicized, because like now, whether you like, it's weird because I've always considered myself a centrist until like obviously now people consider me right wing. I'm fine with that, right? Frankly, right now I'm fine with that. Like, it's 2018, I was getting called a tree hugger. Like, I was literally getting called like a Democratic tree hugger. And then by 2021, they were calling me alt-right Alan Roberts. Like, and the fucked up thing is, I didn't change anything. Like, I mean, like, I literally was just like, well, slow down. Maybe we shouldn't be like destroying the world over a cold, and then I knew it was alt-right, but then also the same thing, like I don't know if you've seen any of my content, but I'm very against obesity. I think it is a disproportionate societal burden that we should not bear. Like, people should take responsibility, right? But along with that, one of the other questions I wanted to ask you is, I believe, like me, like you probably were considered a leftist before, and now you very much make right-wing content. Did that happen? Like, did you change from like getting healthier, or is that more along the lines of like for similar to me, like the left just kind of left you,
No, it changed whenever I changed. And I think that this needs to be studied. I truly do. I've read studies. I can't cite where they're from now because I can't fucking remember. But there are studies that literally, like, liberal women are some of the most depressed people in the world. And
lots of them.
Like, by far. And I will say, like, in my own defense, it wasn't, I was in Hollywood for a decade, and it wasn't like, especially because I was so out of my mind, it would be different if I was like level-headed and healthy and I was just choosing to be liberal. I was out of my fucking mind. And so when your bosses, all your heroes, I was doing stand-up comedy at the time, and like, I'm at the Comedy Store. Even my heroes are super liberal. Mark Maron is on stage talking about, bitch ass right wing, this and that. And I'm like, Mark Maron is cool. And then I get off stage and I go back home and I watch John Oliver, who I think is very funny. And now I know that John Oliver is like a fucking psyops for the government to make us all retarded. And anyway, what was the question? I have ADHD too.
That's awesome.
Liberal. Yes. Liberal, and then turning. Yeah. So it wasn't even like a conscious decision. It was just my world. I didn't see out of it. I didn't see anything else. And somebody that is so mentally ill that they think that their friends are plotting against them is also going to be so mentally ill that whenever you don't post a black square and everybody tells you that silence is violence, is going to go, okay, I guess I'll post my black square. I could, every now and then I would have flashes of my own moral compass, like, coming out, where I was like I never put pronouns in my bio. And that was like the one thing I was like, it feels so weird that I'm not trans and I have to put pronouns in my fucking bio. I always thought, like, that's going to make me look like I'm trans if I put fucking pronouns in my bio. But yeah. And then whenever I changed nutritionally and I became sane, I was no longer liberal. And I think it's just because I started operating, there was a couple different factors. I started operating from a perspective of logic instead of emotion. So, like, I was so emotional constantly because my brain was so inflamed that I had to be on all this medication, and just like everything, it kind of felt like the ball in your chest right before you cry. I kind of felt like that all the time. And so, of course, you're just this bleeding soul. Let's help everybody. Let's feel this way. Of course, trans people are in trouble. Like, I literally almost went to a BLM protest, but there was a shooting, go figure. And so I couldn't go, but, and I was in this nightmare town. I was in West Hollywood during like the George Floyd, protests and stuff like that, when there are, army men lined up in the street. Thank God for Trump sending like the National Guard out there, but people are burning the city to the ground, and I'm going out of my fucking mind. Anyway, yeah, I was liberal, but it was just because that was my world and I couldn't fucking see out, and I was so mentally ill. And then I think the very first thing that made me start thinking the opposite way was I started eating this meat and my brain started healing. And so I became more calm and I became more sane. But then also at the same time, it was almost like my first red pill moment, because I thought to myself, I have seen so many articles and pushes and just different propaganda and heard and seen my whole adult life that red meat is not good for you, that we need to either not eat it at all, that we need to limit it. We need to limit our consumption, eat the bugs. Veganism is better for you. So on and so forth. And I thought, this is medicine. My brain is already so much better. If they're lying to me about meat, what the fuck else are they lying to me about? So it was just, then it just went on and on and on.
I think that's really profound, and it obviously shows that your logic and critical thinking skills did kick back in. So there's hope for everybody, basically, because I think it's such a psyop. Like you mentioned how they demonize meat, which is kind of wild. Like I get told all the time I'm super unhealthy, like because I eat a lot of meat, by people that could not do my warm up. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
25-year-old guys who are vegan barking at me that I'm unhealthy because I eat meat, and I'm like, you couldn't do a fucking you fucking Homer Simpson shaped fat body, motherfucker. You're calling me unhealthy. It's like this weird thing,
My comment section. Men with boobs in my comment section love to tell me that I'm gonna die of a heart attack, clogged arteries. And I'm like, then why do you have boobs? Can you explain that to me?
Why do you got big old titties? Like seriously, it's so strange to me, like how it happens. But it's also the same thing. You're like, and by the way, everybody go follow her on it's Della Dream on TikTok, and it's Della Dream, I believe, on Instagram too, right?
Yeah, it's Della Dream on Instagram. I try to fuck with Instagram more because TikTok is, as we know, dude, we can't say a fucking word on there.
So here's my thing about both of them, right? Instagram before TikTok was around was worse, if you ask me. Like I've had 5 Instagram accounts, because I've been speaking out against fat acceptance and stuff like this for a long time, like before even 2020. You know what I mean? So it's and I got canceled. Very, very, very early in 2019, where they tried to cancel me. The fat acceptance community did. There's actually a documentary about it. It's called The Dark Side of Fat Acceptance on Tubi.
Wow.
Because they came after me, and when they realized I don't care, because I'm ADHD Generation X, and I just don't give a shit. I if you don't like me, I'm totally good. People talk these 400-pound people upset that I'm calling them fat and it's unhealthy. They start trying to say shit about me, and I'm like, why would I fucking care? You're fat. Why would I care? But Instagram now is quite amazing, actually. There was obviously some sort of shift in their algorithm, because the comment sections are fucking glorious. The comment sections on Instagram have gotten to be so hilarious. A fat person claims they're healthy. The comment section's hilarious. It's gotten funny again, and I really like it. Right?
Yeah.
TikTok. I've had about 14 TikTok accounts, and I think 10 of them have all hit over 100,000 followers in under a week. And then I'll go viral, and I'm deleted. They just delete me. And now I think it's gotten to the point where either my face or my voice is in their algorithm as recognition, because the channels don't do anything. I barely even post there. I go there to collect content, really, right? But it is wild, how left leaning it is, but yet how much the leftists on there think it's not. You know what I mean? I know. I've noticed it where it's they're like, well, we can't say anything. Motherfuckers, you were just talking about cutting the 12-year-old girl's boobs off because she thinks she's a boy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you can say that, but if I say it's wrong, I get deleted, right? Jeffrey Marsh can speak openly on fucking TikTok, but I can't. What I mean? What the fuck?
There are people Julia Fox and like Drew Afualo. I kind of never pronounced her last name, but her whole entire brand is to like tell, you know, men don't need to be alive, men kill all men, all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, it's fine. And then also, if you get on there and say like, I don't know, we hate white people are stupid, white people are dead, you could just say, they could just say it no matter what. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah. So, but I do believe that here's my thing. I don't even mind that they can say that. I just wish I could say whatever the fuck I wanted to say too. You know,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I'm a big believer in like, we should just take away all, like, there should be no restrictions on speech on any platform. None. Like,
yeah,
that way we can figure out who's assholes and who's not. Because like the political correct bullshit, like it's political correctness is basically population level lying. Like, like you could go to the comments section on TikTok of like Tess Holiday or somebody like that, and they're like, "Oh, you slay queen, you're gorgeous." Like, she's 450 fucking pounds. Like you don't fucking believe that. Like, I mean, you're just saying like you're lying to her. She knows you're lying to her. You know that she knows that you're lying to her. But we're just going to still do this for political correctness. It's fucking crazy shit.
Yeah.
So when you left being a leftist, how much shit did you get?
Oh my God. I'm like a science experiment because I was technically, I mean, I didn't vote that way because I didn't give a fuck about it at the time, but I'm like a science experiment because I was, you know, out there for 10 years and I like leaned that way and then like made this dramatic switch. So I know what it's like to be like bullied on the Republican side and then bullied on the Democratic side, or leftist, you know, right wing, whatever. And, the leftists are like, you know, they're violent. The Republicans are basically just like, you're stupid and you'll probably learn someday that you're wrong. Yeah. Hopefully you'll grow out of this or whatever. The leftists are like, I don't know how poorly I can talk on here. Kill yourself. I get told to kill yourself.
Say whatever fuck you want.
Yeah, fucking kill yourself. You're disgusting. I have all different kinds of like, I've got oh my God. I mean, you fucking, anybody that's online like gets that kind of shit, but this is especially because of the political stuff. And I've got it coming from two ends too. Cause like I've got buddies that are in the political space and I've got buddies that are in like the nutritional space. And like, so I get it from like the nutritional space and the political space. I guess that's you as well. And like, I like advocate for people eating a fuck ton of meat. And I'm a disgusting murderer who doesn't deserve to be alive. And then also from the, you know, strictly political side, which they're kind of like the lines are blurred. I'm also just, they have a perfect way of being so incredibly just polar opposite of what they're trying to present themselves to be. Like, take for instance, they act like they're the party of like advocating for women and advocating for trans people and advocating for gays. Well, my friend David, who is just down here, he's a gay Republican content creator. He posted a video, got to the wrong leftist part of TikTok. They were, you faggot, kill yourself. You don't deserve to be alive. You know, you go against everything that we stand for. You don't deserve to be in the community. So he's getting it from that. I know all my Black creative conservative friends get it from them as well. You don't deserve to be part of You can't have if your opinion doesn't align with theirs, then it's completely invalid and you're the most evil, horrible person alive. And I've been being told, the funniest thing about being told this is that I was in Hollywood for a decade, and like even whenever my political views switched, it was like even to like men out there who would be in, whether they were famous or they were in like commercials and stuff like that, you are wearing a fucking scarlet letter. Like, things are different a little bit now. You're wearing a fucking scarlet letter if you're conservative out there. So these women online tell me that all of my political beliefs are because I'm trying to garner attention from men. And I'm like, fuck you, bitch. Like, I was shunned literally even by men whenever I was out there. Every single day I've been broken up with because of it. I mean, there's not been, maybe now I get attention because I'm not a retard and there aren't a whole lot of non-retards out there. But like, yeah, it's so counterintuitive to what they preach. They act like, you know, we should be holding women's opinions on a pedestal and stuff like that. But if you think differently than them, I get told I don't have a husband, but they imagine that I have one, and they tell me that I should have a Republican husband who beats me. They tell me that all the time. They tell me that I'm trans all the time. That's an interesting one as well. Like I have a couple trans friends. I think that's a pretty valid. Some people are like, oh, you have a trans. I'm like, I think that's pretty valid. It means that I love them and I don't hate them. I don't give a fuck what anybody does. And they call me trans all the time. They're like, so when was your transition surgery? They're doing it as an insult because they know that I'm a real woman and was born a woman. But it's interesting to me. I've never seen a Republican call, at least in my circle, and I'm friends with a fucking lot of them, and my whole family is Republican. I've never called anybody trans as an insult before in my entire life. And I get it literally every single day from leftists.
Well, I've always wondered about that too, because I also I've got the trans topic is kind of strange for me because I have no issues with transsexuals. Like I really don't. Like I mean, to me it's almost weird that some people do. Like people get upset, like yeah, but it's still a man. Like okay, it's a man, but like I'm gonna call her she because she looks like a she. Like whatever's easiest for my ADHD brain, I don't give a fuck. Like I have this thing, like I'm always gonna call you what you present as. If I don't call you the pronouns you prefer, it's not misgendering. It's calling you what you fucking look like. You should work harder, right?
Yeah.
But like I've interviewed Blair. I'm interviewing Buck Angel this week. Like I've had Nisa Powers on here. Like I mean, I personally think it's just like something that like they're people. We should talk to them. Like I've got like they're funny. Like I have no issues. Right. I won't do the they them things. Like I won't do that.
Nope.
Like,
not either. Because that's not a thing.
It's not a thing. And it absolutely trivializes like transsexuals, as Bucky has explained to me, Nisa has explained to me, and Blair has explained to me. They have like gender dysphoria, and it's diagnosed. They go through a process, and they try hard to pass. They try to transition to appear as the opposite sex. If you don't have an opposite sex, you want to try to like just declaring that you're neither doesn't mean you're neither. Like, and I'm not. I know like this upset, and this is another reason why I think a lot of leftists like think I'm alt-right. But I can guarantee you, I thought this. Like that's how I've thought forever. Right. I just I found the same thing. Like I still have people be like, man, you used to be so progressive. I'm like, I still am. Like I'm very progressive. Like I mean, like but I think that's what people don't understand is that the new modern right has become much more progressive in looking at and changing things. Like fuck, Trump's talking about getting rid of fucking income tax. Like to me, that's fucking progressive. Like
totally.
They just I think leftism was just hijacked, where all of a sudden it's like they were convinced like, well, we have to spend more money because if you're a leftist, you got to worry about climate change. Like, show me the data. Like, I have yet to see anybody prove that this is a fucking thing. And I'm substantially older than you. Like, I'm gonna be 54 this summer, right? So I've been told that the world is about to be flooded every 10 years for like 5 times in a row now. Like 5 decades in a row, I've been told that the fucking world's gonna flood, right? And if anything, it's like it's not. If anything, it's gotten cooler, right?
Yeah.
And I've had people from my past reach out and be like, what the fuck happened to you? You should be ashamed of yourself. And it's not like I didn't vote. I have this thing, and people may not understand this because I often wear a shirt that says "Stay violent," but I believe that men should be able to stay violent. But I don't like. I'm totally anti-war, like completely anti-war, and I just have this thing where I have a hard time voting for people endorsed by the warmongers. And right now, especially with this shit with Ukraine, a lot of the left is just showing how much they like these people are arguing for war. Like they want to continue war. Like they're upset that Donald Trump and JD Vance were basically, saying like we want peace no matter what, And do you think it's that? Like, how much has the left changed also in the last like 4 years?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, seeing, I think that's when everybody started. I mean, especially whenever all the gender shit happened, and like nobody gives a fuck if you want to be called a mop, but like then they started firing people because they called them the wrong thing. And that's where I was like, oh, this is fucked up. But yeah, it's crazy. They like leftists used to be like the kind of like they're supposed to be the cool kids. They're supposed to be like more chill. They're supposed to be like more of the punk rock type people. And now they suckle at the teat of big daddy government and love the law and following the rules. And it's completely flipped in my opinion. Because now I think it's kind of punk rock to be the ally. Now it's becoming more mainstream, but at the time, it's more punk rock to like say fuck you to the government than to be like, what is the government going to tell me I'm about to be offended about today? And which is literally what they do.
That was fucked up. I mean, so I always ask people, I ask guests this question. It's March of 2020. Were you like, oh shit, COVID's going to kill everybody, or oh shit, fuck this shit?
Was I?
Yeah.
Oh, I was in the throes of mental illness, and every single person, including my bosses who I looked up to, who owned a big production company, everybody around me, every news story, every person, every comic, every hero of mine, everybody told me that if I were to even cross state lines, that I was going to kill people, that I was in danger, and just beat it into my brain, to the point where it was very sad. And I thought I was less worried about myself. I wasn't like quaking about that. But the thing that they really, really beat into your head was that you're going to kill your parents if you fucking see your parents or whatever. Yeah. And I'm from Texas originally, and my whole family is in Dallas. And I was so in the throes of mental illness. They would like call me and they'd be like, Della, come down here. And I was like, no, because I thought that I had it right and I was like protecting them, like it was coming from a good place. But I remember like a couple different times they told me, like in the throes of COVID, especially because Hollywood was like communist fucking China at the time. I mean, I remember trying to go to a park and just so that I could get outside and be on something other than cement. And they locked my car. They literally came in and locked my car in with chains whenever I was up on the fucking mountain. And I had to drive through a ditch to get my car out whenever I was off the mountain. And it was illegal, literally illegal. They were arresting people for if you would walk down the street with more than one friend and you both needed to be wearing masks. I don't know if they'd arrest you for not having masks on, but if you walk with more than two people, you would get arrested. They had curfews at 9 p.m. where you had to be inside or you would get arrested. I mean, it was fucking insane. And it was really scary too.
That is some crazy shit. Like, I mean, it's weird hearing your account because I was in Florida, right? And I still was pissed. Like, I was still pissed, like I was pissed. I was pissed. The rest of the world was fucking dealing with that shit because, like, and I'm actually writing a book about it right now. But I knew from the very beginning that was bullshit, right? Like, because I worked in healthcare for so long, I'm able to read the data. Like the data was so clear from the beginning, like it's like the same high risk group as other colds and flus, elderly people and fat people, right?
Yep.
And like I had already been very like kind of like jaded by the healthcare system because that's why I left, and I was also very jaded by our government because they fucking lie and they're corrupt as fuck. But like I was just like, this is not, this is nothing for us to fucking worry about. Like, if you're elderly, like the thing is, most elderly people, like if you're above the age of life expectancy and you've got 4 serious comorbidities, which was the actual high risk main group, you're already pretty fucking isolated, and you're just, these are the people that do the dying, is them and seriously morbidly obese people. And I was like, why are we closing the world down for all these fucking people? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but like if you want to stay in, stay the fuck in. But like, I was worried about that. Meanwhile, you couldn't even walk down the street without think about the governmental overreach. Here's my problem. And here's why I'm writing a book about it. Because here's my problem. Nobody's getting punished for this. The government. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People need to go to prison. Like anybody that ever said, any public health official that ever said, we're going to beat the virus, we should arrest them. They're lying. There's it's an endemic upper respiratory virus that had been around the world once, and then we're talking about zero COVID. Like, you people are on fucking crack. Yeah. I actually did an article about California where you were living, where it just by the PCR test false positive rate, you guys would have never come off a fucking lockdown. Like he in California, he stated like it had to be a certain percentage below for so long, and then you would get lockdowns lifted for whatever. But like the false positive on the PCR test was gonna fucking guarantee you guys stayed locked down forever, right? And again, the worst part is this was over a cold. Like it's over a cold, right? And I was just like, holy shit. And then the government, like once I saw that the government was going for it, like if by going for it, I do mean, just in case anybody's wondering, I do mean they were trying to push authoritarianism all the way through on us. Like,
yes, they were.
They were convincing us they could tell us who we could have in our house, like where we could travel at one point in time. You know,
and it's a fucking playbook. It is a playbook that has been written before, and we went, and I didn't know that, you know, and a lot of people don't know that, probably still don't know it, but it's a playbook. Every single thing, it's like, first, in order to control people, you isolate them, you get them away from their family, you get them scared, you da-da-da. And I was just like, I watched the Plandemic movies the other day by Mickey, whatever his name is, fucking genius. I watched those the other day, and I was like, I was like rocked to my core, because it was literally every single thing that they did to me to make me weaker, and they were telling my story in front of me. It was absolutely bizarre.
That's wild. That's wild. I mean, and it got to be so crazy, but now notice we don't even talk about it. Like nobody wants to talk about that shit. Like fucking Andrew Cuomo is going to run for fucking mayor of New York. And like, it's wild. What's wild to me is he should be very clearly be in jail. He murdered he murdered like he murdered like tens of thousands of fucking elderly people. Like, he should absolutely be in jail. Fucking wild ass shit. So what let's see, we've talked about the tranny shit. We've talked about Oh, I recently saw that you interviewed Ian Carroll. How was that?
Oh, it's great. Ian's great. I think he's one of the greatest journalists of our generation, truly.
Yeah, he's got a very, very, very good mind, especially for research and putting his shit together. That's pretty fucking wild, you know? He'd be fun to interview. So, and then what is like your main focus on your channel? Is it just kind of like you and just talking about like what you do every day, or are you trying to deliver any particular message? And do you like do any coaching, anything like that for other people to try to get away from what you were going through?
I don't. I feel like I do it as a job, and I'm not getting paid for it, honestly, because I take the time to. I try to take the time. Now it's like more people, so it's difficult, but like to respond to every single person, give them like personal, my account of information that I have off the top of my head, and try to help people. But I just want to, I was a comic for a long time, so I will always like make silly shit because I want to make people laugh. But the number one most important thing to me that I can't shut the fuck up about is like, is health, and the way that we're poisoning ourselves every single day with the food and shit that we're eating. And then I'm super duper into like the government and the all the corruption that's going on and stuff like that. And even people like even people who I love, like RFK and stuff like that, are still not like fully telling the truth and stuff. So
I agree. I love RFK too, but here's my problem with I don't have a problem. I wouldn't say problem. The issue is, I still think that we're kind of in the bag for pharma, even with him a little bit, and that bothers me to a certain degree, because frankly, a lot of these companies should literally be like their CEOs should be in jail. Like, I mean, it's criminal what they've been doing, right? But also, I'm a big believer, like, we're not going to be able to legislate away the obesity epidemic or the chronic illness epidemic, right? Like, because we don't live in a time, like, you could take, like, teach everybody that sugar is an addictive substance. You could teach everybody that ultra processed flour is bad for them. You could say all these things, but in reality, like, there's people making money from shoving 4,000 calories in their face on TikTok, you know? The culture actually needs to change. Like, you know, and you hear about it all the time, where it's like the whole fat shaming and everything like that comes in. fat shaming works, frankly. That's why we
Yeah.
were fat growing up, and I understand if people don't like it because their fifis get all fucking hurt, but it does raise a point that like when we stopped shaming people for being fat, people got very fat.
Yeah.
And I just think that I think that I'm super happy RFK got put in. Make America Healthy Again is actually a phrase that Mark and I we have T-shirts from 3 years ago with that phrase on it, right?
Wow.
But I just think that like I think that it needs to be the people, like we as the people need to start taking more control and responsibility for ourselves instead of looking for Daddy Trump and his people to fucking fix shit for us.
Totally. Yeah. I will say in like a positive message, even though no politician is going to do everything right. It was like gayest shit I've ever said, but it literally brought tears to my eyes whenever I saw RFK get whatever the sworn in or whatever. And days before that, he was shaking hands with Paul Saladino, all these like carnivore people. He was shaking hands basically with all of the people who saved my life. And it was so meaningful to me because at the time and over the last 5 years and still now to this day, I'm going to get relentlessly bullied online. All this stuff is bullshit. Seed oils are good for you. Meat is bad. Da, 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 da. But like, especially it's just watching it like become mainstream little bit, at least a little bit mainstream was like profound because it's just like, we're headed in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a huge deviation from what it was. Like that's why people were so pissed. Like people, it's another thing too. People are like, well, our case, he's not qualified to make these decisions. What is his qualifications to be HHS director? He's actually more qualified than the last HHS director, who was also but like people make this mistake. The actual HHS director from Biden's administration was some dude. He was a lawyer.
Yeah.
Right? The assistant was the dude with the long hair and obese that thinks he's a woman. Like, that's the assistant, right? And I'm again huge fan of RFK. I just don't think that I don't think he's going to be able to legislate enough to fix enough, like without the people buying in. And like it's weird how health has become politicized. Like you can like almost look at somebody's photo and be like, oh well, they must be a leftist.
Totally.
Like
no, absolutely.
Fat, bad skin, man boobs, fupa for a woman.
You really can. You really can. I remember there was an article. I don't know if I want to say it was CNN, but maybe it wasn't. CNN has done every bit as bad as this. But I remember like just a couple years ago, an article came out on one of these mainstream, maybe it was MSNBC, and it said, is working out now becoming like a far right extreme, like why is working out part of the far right extreme culture or whatever? And then PETA put out an article about how drinking real milk is a far right extremist. It's always been deeply rooted in white supremacy. There's like even propaganda around it. Even eating red meat. I've seen articles about eating red meat and all that kind of stuff. And everybody, I went on this is a little bit different of a tangent, but it's still about people being way too fat. Something crazy that I've been noticing lately, or I've been noticing it for the last like 2 years, but I'm thin, but I'm not a stick by any means. And I'm 5'10", 135. So I'm not I've never been like a teeny tiny little woman. It's not like I'm fucking 5 foot tall or some shit. And so I've always in every single store, I don't even have to try anything on. I'm just a medium. Like if we're talking about a shirt, I'm a medium. Everywhere I go, it's fine. Even like standard shorts or pants, whatever, anywhere I'm a medium. It's always been fine my entire adult life. Now a medium literally swallows me. I'm having to get extra smalls. And what I'm realizing is that they're saying that they're making the sizes, what is it, smaller or bigger, whatever, so that these people feel better about themselves. That's what it
Right.
is. I'm like, I am not, there is no world unless I was like emaciated and a runway model where me at 5'10", 135 should be an extra small so that something, so a small
Right.
isn't swallowing me. I couldn't fucking find anything to fit myself at Target today because everything I unfolded was the size of a fucking tarp.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
The fucked
insane.
up thing, yeah. My wife's 5'1.5" tall, and she wears an extra small and shit. And it's like, there's almost been times where it's like, we got to go to the kids section, like
Yeah.
nowadays, like because they just don't make clothes for like my wife's a yoga instructor, fitness instructor, you know, and she's in very, very good shape, thin but muscular, and not she's vertically challenged, we'll just say. So, but you know, it's like this fucking weird thing that she can't find clothing and you can't find clothing. Also, the other thing is, you said you're 5'10" and 135. By modern standards, it's shocking to me that people don't tell you that you're too skinny. Like, shocking.
Oh, I
like,
get it online all the time. I'm like, oh, that's like what I was bulimic for 20 years. So I was like, I stopped whenever I was 28. And so I'm like, you don't know what that means to me. Like, thank you so much for thinking that I'm skinny. And like, yeah, I'm by no stretch of the imagination. Like, no one's gonna think that I'm fat, but nobody's looking at me and be like, oh, that chick is emaciated. Like, no,
right.
But I do get told that online all the time by people with green micro bangs and septum fucking piercings.
Right. Because what's wild is those are the same people that, like, you know, the average woman in America is 5'3.5" tall and weighs 170 fucking pounds. That's morbidly obese. You know, I mean, like people don't. It's like wild to me, and that's a real statistic, by the way, from 2018. Like it's a real statistic.
Insane.
Yeah, and the average waist measurement is 37 inches. Like, so it's like their waist to height ratio is 0.601 or something like that, right? So it's like the average woman in America looks like a short Homer Simpson. It's fucking sad, right?
And you go to the store now, and there used to be the section that is for bigger people, which is like fine, but then the mannequins got fat, and the pictures of people got fat, and then the whole section was fat now, and you can't find anything. I shop all the time, and I can't find any clothes to fit me, and this has never happened before. I mean, 10 years ago, I was pretty much the same size. I'm a little more toned now, and I could find clothes all the time now. But people are so fucking fat; it's the norm, and I'm not the norm anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, being in shape at any age probably puts you like truly in shape. Like, you're not on any prescription medications. You're cardiovascularly healthy. You're mentally healthy, physically healthy, of a healthy weight. You know, those sorts of things, right? Like, puts you probably in like the top 1% of the fucking country. And I know that's so fucking wild. Like, I say this all the time, like, you know, and people always say this, but like, because they point out that I'm on TRT. I just started on TRT like a couple months ago, but like, I should be the average 50-some-year-old male. Like, I've been working out for 40 fucking years. Every man should work out throughout the entirety of their life. I totally fucking believe that. In some way, you should get some sort of physical activity. You shouldn't just sit down all fucking day. You know, nobody should, but especially men shouldn't, right? But it's like, we should be the average. Like if you look back in the 70s, we were the average. Like, my dad, when he was my age, was at least as muscular as I am. Like, I mean, at fucking least. He built bridges for a living. He was at least as muscular as me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, we just lost that. Like, to be truly, like, I'm like at my age now, God, I'm like in the top like 0.001 percentile. I mean, because everybody's so out of shape, and it's just sad. Like, we won't, like, unless we change the culture, we won't get there. But what do you like? Are you seeing the left? Are you seeing leftism start falter, because they had a grip on fucking society for a little bit? And granted, even though Trump's in, is like, you're more on TikTok and Instagram than I am. And I'm just wondering, are you seeing a change now that Trump's in office, or are they going even more crazy?
I don't think anybody is shutting up more, but I definitely think that the world is changing. Just the fact that, you know, it was so taboo. Even people like in Hollywood, which is kind of like, fuck you, because some of these people are like, you know, I don't know, grifters or whatever. But even some people in Hollywood, like, just them saying like, I don't hate him is like profound. So I do think that the world is shifting a little bit. At least it's becoming a little bit more mainstream, because before it was like you literally have to be like fearful that you're going to get like hate crimed or something if you like wear a MAGA hat or whatever.
Yeah, which is so crazy. Like, I mean, they have built up this like. Don't get me wrong, Trump's an asshole. Like, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think him and I would ever have beers. I don't think he's a particularly nice human being. You know, and I don't think I'm a particularly nice human being either, though. You know, but at the same time, they have just such an irrational fucking hatred for him. Like, they'll list off the Nazi the Nazi womanizing this. They list off all their adjectives for him. Like, you motherfuckers don't even get it. Like, I mean, like, they're so like, there's people right now basically getting on TikTok and apologizing to Ukraine for the shit that happened the other day, right? Get the fuck out of our country and go over to Ukraine then.
I know.
What the fuck?
I know.
And these people don't do any research. Like, do they realize that he's like, they're calling that little munchkin a war hero? Like, you know, Trump said this to.
It might have been you that reposted it. That full an adult male that was crying about it. I think it was today.
Yes. Like, what the fuck?
Like, that was insane.
Like, bro, you grow the fuck up. You know, like, I wish that we could get to a point where we could have rational conversation. But as long as they're like, these people are pretending like, I mean, I have never heard so many people openly call to kill like politicians before. Like, they're just saying it. It is fucking wild. Yeah, somebody said, meanwhile, 70% of Ukraine opposes Zelensky. Yeah, that's another thing too. People don't understand. Like, he's not popular over there either, you know? So
it's also just like from my own story and how mentally ill I was. Now, I was never in my throes of mental illness. Did I ever lash out on anybody online? I didn't these people find people that they disagree with and tell them how fucked up they are online. I never did that a day in my entire life, but it is crazy to me. It's kind of sad. It feels like a lost cause sometimes. It's like a lot of these people, and I'm not even defending them really. I'm just like throwing out options, I guess. There is like a mental health epidemic, and I think a lot of it has to.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's like, would any of these people truly, like, if we could actually be like take over the world and like make everybody eat the right thing, would all of these people be as fucking crazy as they are? And the answer is probably no, they wouldn't.
Well, I've written a couple articles. Here's one. It's like SSRIs versus lifestyle. Do the pills beat placebo or just your will to live? You know, like, and there's a lot. Like, if you're physically fit, exercise every day, get proper hydration, sleep, stress relief, plenty of vitamin D. You know, like. And you'll eat a well-balanced, mostly whole food diet. Like, it's normally more effective than SSRIs. You know?
Absolutely. Oh my God, I'm living proof of that. I am living proof. I don't have. It is. I cannot even explain how different of a person. I mean, the proof is there that I'm no longer on any psychiatric medication, any pain medication, nothing anymore. But like, just the general day-to-day of like trying to speak to someone and just being, I mean, I used to piss into a bottle in my room so that I wouldn't run into my roommate in the hallway. My roommate, who I was in a completely, like, we weren't on bad terms or anything. I just couldn't physically bear the burden of seeing another person. That's how out of my mind I was. And like, once the inflammation in my brain was gone, I talk to strangers in public now. It's like I'm a completely different fucking person. And I wish that's one of the, you asked what the message that I have or whatever is. That's kind of it. I would love for as many people as possible to feel the difference that I felt. And I know that it's possible. And there's people out there that are worse than me that have changed this. I know people that have gone fully carnivore, which I'm not, you know, I'm not like anti-vegetable and stuff like that, but I do think that it's perfect for people that are like really in the throes of some sort of pain or mental illness. Yeah. And then you can incorporate things back in later. But I know people with literally that have had BPD that lost their jobs because they can't stop touching the fucking doorknob 40 times before they go to work, who went carnivore, right. All the inflammation in their brain goes down, and they're completely normal again and get their jobs back and their entire lives back. Like, and people, it's so crazy people don't know that. like so many people don't know it.
Well, they don't know it because we're told to trust like for your entire growing up, trust your doctor, trust your doctor, trust your doctor. Well, your doctor doesn't know shit all about nutrition. Like again, like the wild thing too, most of the like mental health medications that get passed out are from doctors, not even from psychiatrists.
Yes.
Like which is also very fucking wild. Which is also very fucking wild. But if you're told just take this pill, it'll be better. Well, you just need this pill, it'll be better. Like the second that they started going pharmaceutically first before anything was the day that we should have realized that they were never going to want us to be healthy again. So if they tell us how to stay healthy, they're telling us how to avoid making them profit. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And that's the hard thing that needs to be decoupled. Like it's so much money that I thought I can't believe that RFK is not. I can't believe he didn't get axed. Like I was like I was sure they were going to try to kill him, but listen, I try to be respectful of everybody's time. We're about an hour. We'd love to have you back on, but where can everybody find you?
Find me at Della Dream on Instagram, and I'm Della Dream on X as well. I'm trying to fuck with those platforms a little bit more because TikTok fucking sucks.
It definitely does. But thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you. And again, gotta have you back on sometime. If there's anything we can do for you, you let us know. Okay.
Okay, sweet.
Thank you.
The Holy Trinity Bundle isn't just about weight loss, it's about empowering you to find your healthiest, happiest self. Let's talk about what's in the bundle and how it caters specifically to our needs. First, we got Ember, which is not just any fat burner. It's also going to boost your mood, your energy levels, while also suppressing your appetite. And if you're worried about it being too strong, you can split the tablet in half to tailor its impact. Next, we have Alchemy NCT, which turns the carbs that you eat into energy and not fat. Yes, energy, not fat. This is our way of making sure that the meals that you eat contribute positively to your weight loss journey. And girls, we all know that we want that. And finally, no morbidity. This one's my favorite because it works while you sleep. It burns fat and controls those nighttime cravings without any stimulants, so you wake up feeling refreshed. Try it out and feel the genuine difference. Here's to new beginnings and real results.